Okay, we're checking out the Align 250 tail assembly, looking for what the pushrod forces are like in preparation for doing the Chinese weight mod. Also, there's been some posts about a mushy tail and sticky tail on these, so we're going to see if we can analyze what's going on. Right here, as we're free up here, reasonably low forces, but as we pull back to this position, it gets very snug. That's where we're seeing that 2.5 ounces on the force gauge. Okay, we've taken the whole slider assembly off to see how the pitch arm is. Pitch arm is nice. There's no binding on that. Okay, we found the culprit here. The links are very snug in the aluminum pitch slider arm. Very high drag right there. As you can tell, it stays put. If I even tilt it up like this, it's not free at all. So we're going to open those up and investigate what's going on there. The bushing for the pitch arm end of the link, if you put it in one way, it binds. It's actually tight there where I can feel the drag that I felt before. If you flip it, it goes in and it's free as a bird. So you might want to check those. I've looked for burrs on the actual brass bushing and they look okay. There's no obvious burrs on the plastic molding, but this direction here definitely binds city. It is snug. Flip it and it's good. This is just a toothpick that's been ground down to be able to hold on to the bushings. You can just sand one down and so that it fits in there snug so you can feel these. So once you've got that set up to know which way is good, then leave it alone. Don't flip it so that you can put it together that way. Okay, even after doing the bushing treatment, I'm still feeling drag in spots, and I noticed that right here in the clearance gap there's not quite enough room, and the outside edge of this plastic is binding on the slot in the pitch slider arm. Okay, just a couple swipes with some fresh 400 silicon carbide paper on the edge right there, just to take the strokes off to get that edge off. You'll notice there's a significant amount of draft on these parts, the taper for it coming out of the mold, and you only have to hit that edge that's the larger edge, and do that to both the pitch sliders and we'll come back. Another approach is to just take a real small needle file, go in and file that back edge, make sure you don't hit the faces where the bushing is going to touch, and just relieve that probably 0.1/1000ths and you'll be good. That'll be a good time to check your play in your pitch slider bearings. This has a little slop. I'm going to adjust that out, and it's a 3mm wrench or duckbill pliers. Be careful when you're adjusting that pitch slider using pliers, because I thought I was being pretty gentle, but I actually squeezed the end of that bushing out of round and had to clear out the end of the hole where it had been crunched a little bit because it's so thin. So be real careful there or you'll be binding on your tail shaft. Now we've got the slop-free arms. They're nice and then loose, and we've gotten rid of the clearance problem that was right in there where the OD of the end of the link was binding inside the pitch arm there. So however you cured it, needle file on the aluminum or a little 400 paper on the sanding the edge off of that, either way cured that, because now these are tightened and the bushing is nice and firm. Was able to put a nice snug torque on the 0.80 screws, and we're ready to proceed from there. Another thing you can do to make the smoother tail is take some 600 or finer paper and just stroke the shaft there and rotate it and get rid of some of the grind lay on the shaft so you got a nice polish on there, and that will definitely improve the slide on there. Make sure you clean it off well so you don't have any grit residue on there that would cause you to chew your pitch slider up. Pitch slider's on, free as a bird, smooth as glass. Sliding the sandpaper axially back and forth really makes a huge difference, especially at superfine. You can just feel it's velvety smooth on there, even when you put a little pressure on it. You don't get any of the normal feel when you start to put pressure, where you can start to feel the topography of the grind showing up in there. This is velvet right there. Even though these are super small, they still have an A stamped on them. Okay, so there we're mounted. Pitch slider. Smooth now. We've gotten rid of any drag there. Keep in mind that the main culprit was the actual binding of the inside of the pitch arm groove with the outside of the link. So we'll put the rest of it together and see if it's still smooth once we're totally assembled. Careful when you are passing the screw through the bushing. I suggest putting the bushing in the arm first so that you don't have any chance of actually getting Loctite inside the plastic, where it would either degrade the plastic or set up and tighten the tighten up the fit. So just make sure that when you're in there, you're very careful not to get any Loctite on that in that bushing. Blade grips on, and we've gone through everything, but I still have this snug in this direction now that I've connected to the blade grips. And we know that these bushings were free in themselves. So I believe what's going on here is that the actual gap right here between the pitch arm and the link is a little tight, and it's skewing the whole thing, because even with the screws just barely tight, it's firm. So I'm going to loosen the screws. We'll let the bushing flop a little bit and see if that gets rid of the problem.